Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Really excited about today's podcast. We have another really interesting episode in store. We're going to see what sort of unfolds throughout this podcast. So, as I typically do, I open up my channel to the divine prior to sort of going into the flow of this podcast. What we're going to do is allow the guides to enter and assist and participate in this podcast, as well as the oracle reading. So I'm going to actually pick a card, and this will help guide some of the direction of the session, just so that we can ensure that this podcast is really, really in alignment and really in the highest good of all that comes upon this particular podcast. So this is going to be interesting, actually. I'm going to do an oracle reading from an online site. So, a lot of people might have a resistance toward that, but this is something that I would like to explain a little bit about, actually. I think this would be a good opportunity to talk about that. Because a lot of people would say working with a normal deck, having the physical deck with you in your hand while you're doing the reading sort of infuses a lot of the energy into that, and that's not untrue. However, this works with intention, just like anything else in this universe. We work with intention. This is what law of attraction responds to. It is intention, it is will, it is your thoughts. So if you have decided and declared that this is the vessel through which spirit is going to come through that vessel. So that includes oracle readings with actual physical cards, and that also includes oracle readings on a virtual site as well. Remember, everything is responding to your vibration. Every instance that occurs around you, every miraculous manifestation, every negative instance as well, is responding to some frequency that you are emitting from within your being, whether it be conscious or not. So we can utilize this to our advantage with divination tools such as tarot cards, whether it be physical or on an online setting. So we're going to actually play with this. I picked a card before this started because I wanted to see where to go, but I'm already actually getting an indication that maybe we can do that and maybe pick another one later on. So the first card that I picked, I haven't read it yet. Here it is. It's the card of the day. Here he is. So this deck is called Wisdom of the Oracle. Colette Baron Reed. I love her decks. Okay, so here we go. The card that we picked is called Treasure Island. So the essential meaning is the law of attraction. Oh, here we go. The law of attraction bringing dreams into fruition. The result of positive thinking made manifest, abundance appearing as it is from nowhere, financial gains, and sharing of good fortune. So the protection message here, it says, is poverty conscious and a sense of not enough cast a shadow on your path. These ideas and core beliefs comes with a high cost. Do you really want to proclaim yourself as a victim of disappointment and failed expectations? Or are you avoiding success because you will grow so tall that others will want to cut you down? Okay, so there's a lot written out here. I can just tell you sort of like what the guides are telling me that we need to pay attention about with this particular card reading. So I'm opening it up to them already. So it's already a synchronicity because we talked about law of attraction already on here. So this is going to be a recurring theme throughout all of these podcasts, really, because it really is the engine of the universe, the law of attraction. It fuels every single thing that we do, and every understanding of everything, every discipline that I have ever learned in my life has been strengthened by understanding the law of attraction, how energy operates in this universe, and how it is dictated and controlled to benefit us. Because remember, we are all vibrational beings. We are all energy beings, right? We are all composed of that energy. So it's how we manipulate that energy that determines what we do with it. So I have a couple crystals here. And the interesting thing about crystals, so we're just going to go with this in this direction first, because I think law of attraction will be a theme that we'll talk about throughout this particular podcast, and we'll come back to that because they already have me talking about this crystal here. So I have what's called an Angel Aura quartz. Actually, I'm recording this. I keep forgetting that I'm also recording this video as well. Um, so I have this Angel Aura Quartz. You'll see me, I was sort of diddle-daddling with it over here because crystals have very, very high consciousness, okay? Very, very evolved consciousnesses, as do plants, you know? As does really all things. All things possesses a consciousness to it, but these have very, very high consciousnesses crystals. This one is called an Angel Aura Quartz. And it was very hard for me to maintain my speech because these crystals, I know it sounds crazy to people who, you know, but I trust that if you are here, you are matched to these sort of messages. Crystals possess really, really high consciousness, very, very high vibrational frequencies, you know. This can actually be measured. Vibration can be measured scientifically. It's just that we need enough evidence of this. You know, we need more researchers and more people, you know, who have the resources to get this information out there, because vibration can be measured, energy can be measured, and we just need the right people in the right influential positions to be broadcasting this information. So this crystal, this is an Angel Aura, and as I was sitting here, it was sort of pinging me. It wants to connect with me. It is chit-chatty. It is so loud. It is trying to get through to me. You know, what it is also is there's a spirit guide that wants to communicate through this particular Angel Aura Quartz. And because this is a quartz that actually resonates at a very, very high frequency, our spirit guides also resonate at very, very high frequencies as well. So they're going to naturally gravitate to vessels that are resonating at a higher frequency, because it is easier for them to deliver their messages to people who have kind of met them halfway already, if you can understand that. People who have elevated their frequency to a state that is close enough for these guides to meet. It will be easier to interpret their messages. And when you have these divination tools, they can be really, really high vibrational tools that they can use to help get through to you. So I already opened up the channel, so virtually everything that I'm saying is being informed by them in some capacity. So this is what they really wanted to talk about this today. I also have one of these while I'm here. So we had a brief sort of glitch there, so I had to restart the recording, but I have this crystal here, and this one is called an Angelite. And now this is another higher vibrational crystal, but it really, really resonates with my throat chakra. And I was drawn to it, and I can understand why I was drawn to this particular crystal, because we are recording a podcast here, so we're really activating that throat chakra. So again, I have these guides here, and we'll just sort of assess the direction. One thing that you guys, you know, if you are seeing the visual portion of this podcast, I have a notebook here and I have a pen. So you'll see me jotting things down here and there. And it could be notes, but usually if I'm writing down, it's probably because there are guides who are giving me messages. And these messages come through extremely fleeting, right? When they come through, I'm always just, you know, I have to really have something near me that I can write down, jot these things down really, really quickly, because it can be so fleeting that it's hard to kind of keep up with it. So when you have something where you can do what we call automatic writing with, it's a resource where you can actually go back to it as a reference to understand, you know, at some point the guides mention this, so we'll have to come back to that at some point, right? And sometimes you do it without awareness. Sometimes I'm writing and I'm not even aware of it. I actually became aware of while I was writing because I just noticed myself on the screen actually writing it. So I'm actually being guided to read some more of the Oracle card. See how this works. They just communicate to me. Sometimes, actually, this can be a lesson of intuition as well, because when you really open the channel up to the guides, what happens is your awareness becomes really keen and your eyes sort of dart to different things that what sort of things that we understand as synchronicity. You may see like a sign, you know, while you're on a bus ride or something, and that sign really speaks to something that you've been thinking about, and that is a message from spirit. So when you consciously open up your vessel to spirit in that way, no matter what you're doing, spirit is going to come through you through whatever creative means it has. available to get through to you, right? So it could be a painting that you have in your house. I have one of these paintings in my house here that I just have, and this is happening as we speak, right? This process that I'm talking about is occurring right now, because as I look over here, I have this painting that I made, and it says dream on it. And that is another download that's been coming through really strongly. So the guides want to talk about this really quickly. They want to talk about dreams and why it's important for us to dream. Now, I'm not talking about just dream at night. I'm talking about having a passion, having a drive within you to be something bigger than yourself, a drive and inspiration that drives an action that creates a life for yourself that is beyond your wildest dreams. These are things that are possible for you. These are things that are that they are trying and strategically placing stepping stones for you to notice, but the thing is, we have to be aware of when they are placing these things. And the reason why we don't recognize those stepping stones is because we usually have unconscious resistance towards stepping into our power in some sort of way. Perhaps being in our power, we didn't feel supported when we were younger, so we project that image of the past onto the future in that way. And it greatly limits us. So they want to talk about dreams because this is a sort of childlike phenomenon that we understand in society, but it is not a childlike phenomenon. This is something that we just disregard after childhood, but this is an incredible tool that we can use to accomplish our goals. Because when we're kids, we think of it as dreams, but when we're adults, we think of it as goals. We think of it as things that we need to accomplish, in our lives. If you allow yourself to dream long enough, your dreams become your goals, and your goals become your life. And that's the really key feature that they want to remind you, is not to allow that child aspect of you to die away. That's really, really special to and there's so much ability for you to access within your child within. We look at children and we forget that they're our greatest teachers. They're more in the moment and more present than we as adults sometimes feel like we have the capacity to do. We have so many things in our minds. We have so many things that we're juggling. We have so many things that we're worrying about with ourselves or with our families or with our loved ones, our friends. And we forget that, these kids are, completely in the moment. They'll forget about things sometimes, and we criticize them for that. But really, when they are playing, they don't need very much at all. They can be sitting outside on a porch staring at a leaf and just be mesmerized, And if you think about your most peaceful moments in your life, what do you notice? Maybe it was at a park bench, when you were just like watching a sunset. It's those really still blissful moments that we take for granted, and that is where the consciousness comes in. That's where the messages from the divine come in. That's where your awareness comes in. That's where your intuition comes in. That's where the call to action comes from, right? It comes from that force. It is an etheric force, right? So that's a really strong message, strong transmission here, and they're all around us, okay? Remember, if you open yourself up, there are so many messages from Spirit all around you just waiting for the opportunity to connect with you. And if you saw me here, actually, you'll see me as I was speaking and as I was sort of channeling from that, I was staring into the painting, because that is a very specific frequency that the guides are literally coming through. So I'm receiving them more clearly through staring at the painting. I don't need to stare at the painting, but it makes it a lot easier to do that, Okay. So I'm just asking the guides if they have any remaining messages that they'd like to channel today. So they're bringing me back to the oracle reading. So I'm just seeing where they're, where my eyes are darting to on this. It works just like tarot cards. When you pull a card, what are you noticing on the card? What are you noticing visually? So I'm reading this here. They say, are you avoiding success because you will grow so tall that others will want to cut you down? So I see fear here. So this is an interesting concept when we talk about success and climbing and becoming who we are. Is a lot of people have this idea that, you know, our success means someone else's lack of success, right? And it's really fear that drives these notions, you know. Again, I'm going to repeat it again. Are you avoiding success because you will grow so tall that others will want to cut you down? Are you fearful that are you going to be a target to people? This is like the war of egos, right? So I hear a message talking about authentic success, true abundance, right? I believe that when you're truly in alignment, there is no real competition. There may be the perception of competition from the outside looking in, but really, I think if you take the most successful people in the world, you will see that they're competing with themselves. They're climbing a mountain that they have created for themselves, a summit that they visualize for themselves that they want to conquer. And in the process of doing that, I think other people who are looking outside of themselves and sort of within themselves and what they want to create within themselves, when they're looking outside of themselves, it looks like these people who are trying to take them down, right? It looks like these people who are just getting everything they want out of life. It looks like they're trying to take you down. That's what the ego wants you to believe. But in reality, I think these people are actually just so devoted within themselves to create their desired life that as a byproduct of that, they just come across like that to other people. And because of their creations that they have made in their lives as well, you know? People look at that and they say, okay, this is somebody who has, fill in the blank, it depends on what that person's individual projections are. But this is an interesting theme, and it is pretty universal. It's not just success in a job, it's success in life, whatever you feel competition with in your life, if you're really good at Scrabble, maybe it's, about that, or maybe you really love fashion and you feel like you're competing with the other people's outfits or designs or designers. If you're a designer, it comes in all different forms. Really, it's ego. That's all it is. So I thought maybe we can pick one more card maybe before we go. If you guys are interested in that, I'll just see. Okay, they're telling me this card. Here we go. Peace. Here we go. That's the card. Peace. Essential meaning, freedom from attachment, radical acceptance. Protection message says, now is a time for calmness and well-being in spite of temporary conditions. Even if there are dissonant tones in the music of your life, all that means is that you must go within and fine-tune the extraordinary instrument that you are. This is a time to find harmony within yourself and not look at the outer world to provide certainty. This too shall pass, and once again, your life will sing with beautiful music. So to me, the message here that the guys are coming through as I read this is just kind of bringing you back home. We just went through a transmission experience. We went through so many different heights of so many different vibrations, so many themes that maybe different pieces of consciousness are being revealed to you through that download, right? So now it's a time to sort of bring that all back into our hearts and remember that that's our temple, that's our place, that's our home. And nothing can actually hurt you from that place. And I can vouch for this. So many of us have gone through so many things in our lives, but yet we're still standing. And what is that? Because there is some sort of will, some sort of power, some sort of force that not everybody can see, but it is within you that and you trust it. Otherwise, you would not be here today. Really, really beautiful messages here. Okay, guys, thank you again for just another amazing transmission experience. I'm so excited for, the future of this. Again, I'm sending love and truth and light and just positive energy out there to all of you who watch this. And thank you for listening. Please feel free to share this podcast if you really resonated with it, or if the messages in here you feel other people would resonate with, please do share this. I so appreciate it. And thank you. Yeah. I will talk to you guys later. Really excited about the future ones to come now. Take care, guys. Bye.